Hello, Canucks fans, and welcome back to another episode of the Canucks Conversation, brought to you by the great folks over at Zephyr Epic. You can use promo code Hockey Season, capital H, capital S, all one word, Hockey Season. That will get you $5 off your order at ZephyrEpic.com. That is ZEPHYR Epic. Check them out on all platforms: Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, whatever it is. They've got you covered for all of your trading card needs. So be sure to go check them out, whether that be the baseball cards, which I'm going to get some soon of, the hacky cards, as we like on this show, Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Pokemon, whatever it is, Zephyr Epic has got you covered, locally owned and operated out of Surrey, British Columbia. So be sure to go check them out. They got a little retail location that you can go check out, but if you want to check them out online, free shipping Canada-wide on any order over $50.
I don't know if producer Aaron's ever seen this, since we're talking Zephyr Epic, my Pokemon collection, which doesn't look good because of the green screen.
A lot of green on those
The
Pokemon
original
cards.
151.
You have all of them now?
No, I'm working on the list.
I was going to say,
still.
like, I didn't know you
I'm
had all
working
of
on it.
them.
I'm working on it. It's an expensive hobby.
Yes.
Speaking of expensive hobbies.
No.
You and I played golf on the weekend. You and I did.
Did we? I don't remember playing golf.
You played about 15 holes.
Yeah, 15 holes and lost 18 balls in the process.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Well, that was a tough one. You did run out of balls on the golf course, which is a very unfortunate thing. But a video was posted of your swing. And I had multiple people
Best swing of the day?
in my DMs
Yeah.
asking about this grip on the club.
I grip it like a baseball bat.
And
okay?
I know that here we go here. Have you
got
seen
a picture of it?
Have you seen the people that are putting? Some people putt and they almost like point the one finger down, almost like in a strange grip, almost like a claw. It almost looks like you have one of your hands backhanded.
Dude, that's how if I lifted that club up, that's how I hold a baseball bat.
But I know that this past weekend when we golfed, I played all right. I think I shot 88, so I was 16 over. Listen, for me, I'm never going to get close to par. So in the 80s, I'm normally pretty okay with. I played all right. I blew it on the final hole with a one-shot lead, ended up losing by 2. So a horrible final hole. But this weekend really affected you. And it wasn't from us getting attacked by birds again. That didn't happen this time. Oof. But we kept our distance this time from those cranes. That's an aggressive bird. But you've made some big changes to your golf game. You bought new clubs after.
I bought a new bag because my bag weighs 90 pounds. Talk me through
the frustration that this weekend gave you that led you up to this point, because now you've rebuilt your golf game.
Well,
a true rebuild. You've gotten rid of all the clubs.
Here's the thing, and people are going to say, "Oh, clubs don't really make the golfer." I get that. Okay, when I started out golfing, I had my grandpa's old clubs. Okay, so my woods were actually made of wood. I played on the high school golf team, got made fun of. I don't care. I still played. I couldn't hit them well because they're hard to hit. But for a graduation present, I got a proper driver. So then my drive started improving. I was like able to actually hit the driver. So I was like, okay, this is great. For Christmas, this past Christmas, my brother got me a wedge set, just wedges. I can hit those well. Now it's the irons that I'm having trouble with.
Right.
So now I'm like, okay, those are the last thing of my grandpa's set that I still have. I need to upgrade the irons. So I bought some irons, got a hybrid. And I'm pretty excited about it. They're going to come.
Yeah.
I'm going to go to the range, practice again. And, I might even take lessons because, look, I get people in the chat are pointing out the grip is just wrong. I know it's wrong. I learned to golf by going to the driving range when I was 11 and just starting to hit at the shutout Kensington driving range that used to be there behind the Shell. Not there anymore, but that's where I learned. Like I never took lessons. I never had some expert show me what to do. I watched YouTube videos here and there. I used to be able to hold my own. Like I could play pitch and putt fine because now I have my wedges that are good. I can play pitch and putt fine. Like I hit 5-10 over at pitch and putt, which still isn't great. But
I've never seen you go that low. But okay.
No, I can play pitch and putt, but I want to get my other stuff going.
I have to answer Vince's question. I ducked him earlier in the week. You can't run now. Hot dog, mustard, or ketchup. Pick one. I would go with mustard. And I would go with the dill pickle mustard from Trader Joe's. I gave you some of that last time you heard, didn't I?
So good.
I told you that's the
I'd probably pick ketchup if I had to just pick one.
Yeah, but it's nice to see. I had this talk the other day when I was golfing with a friend, and we were saying like, hey, you get to the point where you just have to move on and get a new set of clubs, whether it's like a new driver or a new putter or new irons like you, or you mentioned the wedges. I was thinking I'd love to have a Hall of Fame bag, right? So like certain clubs that I've had, wouldn't make it into the Hall of Fame bag. But this putter that I've had the same putter for like 10 years, and I love it. But I'm at the point now where it's not making putts anymore. It doesn't have the magic into it, but it's made some real magical putts over the years. I want to have almost like a Hall of Fame bag where I'm going to put that. That's going to be the first club in there for me because I don't have another club that I've stopped using, but I've had some good games with. The reasons I've stopped using those clubs is because they suck. It's not my fault. It's the club's fault. That's why I've moved on from them. So I think the putter would be the first one of mine to go into the Hall of Fame.
Can someone explain this to me? Because I have a Hall of Fame club, and I want someone to maybe explain this. And we'll get to hockey soon. But I had a pitching wedge.
By the way, there's not a ton of hockey.
Yeah, it's July. It's July. A lot of shows are taking the summer off.
This is the news and notes that we have for the Canucks. Derek Clancy left.
Yeah, we'll talk about
let's
that.
do 20 minutes on that. No.
Oh, also, I didn't even introduce us. Chris Faber, David Quadrelli, technical producer.
Get involved
Aaron
in the chat.
Bordado.
Let's have an active chat today.
Yeah, we do.
I want to back
active
and forth
chat so far, but everybody's
Vince
pointing
is
out.
mad about the ketchup. He says ketchup, touch of oregano, and sharp cheese.
He said one condiment.
Yeah,
Vince.
what happened here, Vince?
Yeah, Vince is like, yeah. So this is what else I would do.
I'll get down for a pizza dog too. I like that.
Anyways, okay. What was I saying? Yes. Okay. So can someone explain this to me? Because speaking of Hall of Fame clubs, I had a pitching wedge from that set from my grandpa that I had, and I could hit that thing really well. Played pitch and putt with it. It was really good. And then one day I hit it at the pitch and putt, made a weird sound, and then after that, it was making weird sounds when I hit it. It was almost like, in baseball we say a bat's gone dead. Yep. We have a dead bat. Yep. It felt like I had a dead club, but I didn't know that was a thing in golf. So every time I would hit it, it wouldn't do what it used to do. So that's when I decided it was time to get the new wedges. But does anybody understand this?
I can see a driver like losing its pop.
Oh, yeah, I've seen that.
Right? I think that can happen.
A pitching wedge. It's like a piece of metal. Why?
I'm sure eventually it wears down, right? It has to wear down eventually, but I don't think at the same rate. Like, I think you can get away. At least you should like a half decent iron. I don't know about this one. You bought one set off of Amazon. I don't know about that.
I looked up reviews.
I know you said the reviews are good.
I looked up reviews.
But you're also looking at a set of golf clubs that people, a lot of the reviews that I read, because you sent me the page, I just clicked and scrolled down the reviews. They were like, listen, really good set of clubs for $170. Look, that's what I heard.
Look, comes with a free hybrid too. It's okay. This is my thought process.
You're never going to hit that hybrid.
I'm absolutely going to hit that hybrid.
Never.
I can't hit my 4-iron. Actually, I got a hold of one the other day when we played. I had about 4 good shots that whole afternoon. But shout out Marcus. Played with Marcus from Canucks PR, who was also chirping me on Twitter. I don't know. Pretty unprofessional. Media PR relationship supposed to be better than that. There's got to be a rule where he's not allowed to chirp me, right?
No, he's allowed to. It's anything's fair on the golf course.
That's fair. Marcus is really good is the thing. You didn't beat him. You came 2 strokes, but your goal was to beat Marcus. Marcus is really good.
I know. I can't let him know that's my goal.
Oh, I just said
Canucks PR. They watch every single episode of the show, every second of it.
I think that's part of Marcus's job.
It is. He's literally, if you switch cameras, he's right down there at Canucks offices, down there, watching the show right now.
Okay. Anyways, do you want to get to this? Do you want to get to Derek Clancy? The big news of the weekend?
Yeah, let's get to news and notes. This is the big news of the week, I guess, right? Let me know in the chat if we're missing anything. Dalvier says, how's your pickleball game been? I started playing recently. It's pretty fun. I haven't played this year.
I'd like to go.
I'm bummed about it. And you were saying that, we're going to get
out. We're going to go to my place.
Harm wants to get out too, so we'll get back to playing some pickleball. I haven't played once this year. Played a lot at the end of 2022 though. Get
you boys out to the newly constructed Betty Allard YMCA.
Yeah. Do we have anything here on Derek Clancy? Do we have anything? I don't really have.
He went to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and the Canucks release of it was really funny because I was out, and it was just a quote from Patrick Allvin that said, "We'd like to thank Derek Clancy," with no information about where he went, and there was a spelling mistake in the original tweet. Mm-hmm. It was not a master. I'll tell you who wasn't working. Marcus. Mm-hmm. Marcus wouldn't let that happen.
It's his day off. Yeah.
Anyways, so honestly, I don't know. Like, what do you want to say about it? Jim Rutherford said that that was Jim Rutherford's first hire as AGM. I know it's July, but even though it's July, I don't think I want to try and make this a bigger deal than it is. Like, I'm not going to say like, oh, this is going to hurt them. I don't know if it's going to hurt them. It might hurt them, folks. There's the analysis that I think it does
a little bit. I think that Clancy, from what I heard anyways, was very good at connecting the amateur and professional scouting groups to kind of work together. Okay. Like, that was something that he did a big thing of. It was involving analytics. In amateur scouting was a big thing that he's been like. He is more of a new age thinker in terms of scouting, and I think that's a good person to have kind of running the whole scouting department. And scouting, remember, this isn't just amateur scouting for the NHL draft. This is pro scouting. You could say the Canucks have done a pretty good job with their pro scouting over the last little bit and some of their hits that they've had so far. So, yeah, I think this is a loss for the organization. I don't think it's going to break the organization, but I'm curious to see if that spot is filled. Currently, there are 2 assistant general managers, Cami Granato and Emily Castonguay. There is 1 assistant to the general manager in Dwight Schrute form with Ryan Johnson. So they have some bodies around. They have some people. I mean, Dale Talon's around, right? Like there's some names to look at. I don't know if they're going to get one there, but I'm curious to see what happens with the scouting department. Is there someone internally that's now going to be an AGM, right? Because I think you do like to have an assistant general manager kind of cover a whole area of your team, whether it be, the player personnel, player development, scouting, these type of things, or the cap dollars and kind of just working the money, be the money guy for the organization. Like I think you'd like to have an AGM kind of run their whole thing. So now you don't really have something for scouting. So I'm curious to see if we see a name promoted internally or if there's someone from another organization, probably a former Pittsburgh Penguins guy. We'll have to look and see if there's any of those people available.
I'm not sure if it was PJ that threw it out. Last summer, Scott Young got hired alongside Dale Talon, and obviously Dale Talon and Dylan Crawford's there too, Frank Golden as well, but Dale Talon was the one that kind of dominated the headlines, and rightfully so. He's a name everybody knows. But Scott Young was a name that we heard as somebody who's apparently done really good work in the past year. And I think it was PJ that threw it out there. I'm not exactly sure about that, but Scott Young, you bring up names that might get promoted.
I got
keep an eye on that. Maybe. Okay, give me a name.
Ryan Beach.
Are we just
promote him?
Okay. Are we just going because former CA managing editor?
He's a good dude. I hope he's doing well.
He's the first guy that hired you at Canucks Army.
Yeah, he's got an eye for talent. So promote him.
I developed you.
Aside from that, Lisa
I'm the Ryan Johnson of this scenario.
No, I don't think so. Lisa brought it up. Vasily Podkolzin became a father.
Mm-hmm.
Congratulations to the Podkolzins. Was I forgot the name. Was it Alina? Alina Podkolzin?
I don't know.
Something like that. I believe it started with an A. But congrats to them. Good to see Pods becoming a dad. That's awesome news. Literally, is there any other Canucks news that we're just blanking on? Like bigger stories that we have to talk about from the week? I just think these next few weeks are going to be the slowest ones, right?
Yeah.
We don't really have much going on, even on ice plate. We have something on the 29th we should bring up. The World Junior Summer Showcase is going to start. There'll be 4 Canucks playing in that tournament. It's a 5-day-long tournament beginning on the 29th. We might actually be joined by a buddy of mine, Pete Krupski, who's going to be doing play-by-play for that whole tournament. He'll join us at some point during that time here. And Lisa says, yes, it was Alina. So shout out to the Podkolzins. I've seen that baby a couple times already. I live right beside. We live.
I was like, what are you talking about?
No, I've seen them out in the stroller and things like that.
That's great.
Yeah, so congrats to them, and that's big news. But yeah, we'll be joined by Pete, I think, in a couple weeks here.
Did we talk about Rick Tocchet, his comments about Huglander and Podkolzin?
Yep, that was all of last week.
Already covered it. Okay. Well, Pods was the dad before that, which is why I guess we forgot the dad part. But okay, this summer showcase. Who's going again, and who are you most looking forward to watching?
Jackson Dorrington is going to end up going. Hunter Brustevich is going to end up going. Those two will be playing for USA. Jonathan Lekaramäki and DPD will be playing for Sweden. And day one, the first game, I believe, is 1 p.m. on the 29th. It might be Eastern time. I'll have to double check that. But 1 p.m. either Pacific time or Eastern time. And you'll see Sweden match up against one of the 2 USA teams because USA gets split into white and blue. That's why you're kind of seeing Dorrington and Brustevich both on this roster with this team, because don't get super excited about them being at the World Juniors this coming winter. I think this is because there's 2 full teams of the USA going here. That's why those 2 are both here on this one. I don't think they're really in a driver's seat to be on Team USA for the World Juniors anyways this year.
Okay. Poll question?
Well,
because we still got a fun episode planned. I know. We're going to have some fun here.
Yeah, and my prospects were going to give away, talk about the 5-1 because we did 6-10 or 10-6 last week. But
yes,
you've been writing a lot about this at Canucks Army lately. About, are the Canucks tough enough? Are they adding toughness? All these things. I've seen these articles you've been writing. But I want to spend some time here talking about it. Do you want to start with the poll question and just build off of that? Or do you want to close out with it? Your call here. This is your little segment.
So you kind of pointed it out. I've been writing about it. Our friends at Hockey Fights are providing a lot of this data. But the Canucks fought the 4th most times out of any team in the league last year. Kyle Burroughs and Luke Schenn obviously led the way, as many would expect, but they lost. I wonder if anybody can
guess in the chat, how many fights did the Canucks have last year? I know the number.
You do?
Yep.
I don't even know. Actually, yeah, I think I do know it. I was about to mouth it to you.
Let's see if anybody in the YouTube chat can guess.
Yeah, see if anybody can guess the number. But until that happens, Canucks obviously lose Schenn. They
or the people at home listening on a podcast.
Sure.
Just guess it in your head.
They also lose Burroughs. So there's your two top fighters gone. The number is a lot lower without Burroughs and without Schenn. The other thing that I came down to was looking at the teams at the bottom and seeing that it was a lot of elite teams. So you don't need to fight in order to be a tough team to play against. One of those bottom teams was the Vegas Golden Knight. They ranked beyond the lower half of the league in terms of fights.
26th in the league.
26th in the league. That's right.
I've got all this memorized too.
Very good. Vegas did 26th most fights in the league, and they won the cup, and they were the toughest team to play against. Sure, the Canucks fought the fourth most times, but if you did a player poll and you asked, okay, who's the toughest team to play against, they wouldn't say, the Canucks because Kyle Burroughs or Luke Schenn.
Yeah, here's a better one. The Carolina Hurricanes are pretty tough to play against. They had 5 fights all of last season.
Yeah, exactly.
32nd in the league for fights. 5 fights all year long. They're a tough team to play against. It's not necessarily about that. So is that where you're going here with this Enforcers in the year 2023?
No, I'm actually going the opposite direction.
Okay. So you want more fighting then?
Well, no, not necessarily. But let's get to our poll question.
Right.
Let's do the poll question, then I'll bounce off it.
You got it.
Our poll question, as always, brought to you by the great folks over at Atlas Goods. Use promo code CC15 to get 15% off your first order of pop rinds. These are the best fresh pork rinds straight from your microwave or air fryer. Not like those store-bought pork rinds. Nothing like them, actually. No. If you thought forget everything you thought you knew about pork rinds.
Thank you.
And go check out Atlas Goods.
Again, a little bit of popcorn season on there, too.
That's right. Come on. Your favorite flavor, whatever you want it to be.
Yeah, I like Atlas. Everything but elote. That's my sauce.
AtlasGDS.com. Use promo code CC15. Locally owned and operated out of Surrey, British Columbia. Local supports local. So, folks, go out and support the great folks over at Atlas.
But it's not just the local supporting local. They're supporting local sports coverage. We know that the great folks at Atlas, listeners of the show, before they were sponsors of the show, and they love the good local coverage here. So that's why we love working with them.
That's right. Okay, our poll question.
Put a little mustard on the side. Dill pickle mustard. You dip it right in there.
Does fighting belong in hockey? It's the age-old question. So far, out of our options of yes, no, mixed feelings, and I'm angry, so far, 59% say yes, 24% say they have mixed feelings, and 15% say no, with 2% of people saying they are angry. Tell you where I go, okay?
Before you go, how about that 1.3% on I'm angry? What happened?
I had a great poll question. That's what happened.
Most of the time we get 12%. That's our standard for I'm angry. We're 10% of that with 1.3% of people being angry. People want to give their opinion on this one still. And it's weird because, this has been a topic around this sport for a long time. If fighting belongs in the sport of hockey, I think people wanted to give their opinion here and see what the results were. So, yeah.
All right. So listen to this. This is my take on it. Mm-hmm. And I'm not even sure if this is a take. But you know how we always talk about, well, enforcers are gone. Enforcers are out of the league. You need to be able to play.
Right.
I don't know. I've seen young players get under 3 minutes of ice time a game because they can't be trusted and their team still wins the game. Why can't we bring back enforcers? Like, why not? Tell me why. Why can't we just have a guy who legitimately cannot play? Like, he cannot score. He will not score for your team. He will not. If he does, it's a miracle, and it's a great sports moment. Boom, there's a plus. But he's really good at fighting. Well, why not? Why can't we have that anymore? Because here's the thing. Everybody says, yeah, well, those don't exist anymore. Why? It's because we chose for that to happen. Like, teams, general managers, they all chose for that to happen. Is there not more value from having one mouth breather on your bench who's just ready to go whenever it's needed? You tap him on the shoulder, say, okay, you saw what happened out there. Get out there for the next shift. Why not?
I think because if every team doesn't have one, it's almost useless. Because if there's just one real tough guy in a game, he's going to do too much. There's not going to be anyone to kind of answer it. and then you're just going to end up costing your team with penalties. I think that's the way that we've gotten to right now with the actual position of enforcer. The reason it's gone, I think, is because not every single team has one. You can't really match up enforcers that much anymore. And there's certain situations where if you're going a fourth line against another fourth line, there's some really talented young players coming into the league that are in fourth line positions right now. And that's just not going to fly, I think, in today's NHL with enforcers going up against like a 19-year-old kid all night long for his 10 minutes of ice time.
Very sound arguments that I don't have a counter for. I just like, and the reason I thought of this, I was playing NHL Hits 2003, and the fighting in that game, like there were some guys that were just so good at fighting.
Sure.
Donald Brashear's in that game for the Canucks. Fantastic fighting ability. And then you just look at it, like NHL Hits, you can't play with a full roster, right? But you just looked at it and you saw this guy with 99 fighting skill. And you just thought, whatever happened in the good old days? You know? Now, we know a lot about head injuries.
Sure.
And there's a whole other aspect of it, which is why my answer to this is actually that I have mixed feelings and I actually don't like staged fights. That's the one thing that I really think.
The head injuries thing, though, is like...
No, I'm not cool seeing guys' head hit the ice.
Sure.
You love that, is what you're saying.
No, but the only point I'll make for fighting in this degree is that are more guys getting head injuries from fights or from hits?
This is a great point.
Right?
This is a really good point.
Like... Well, that's the way I look at it. I see definitely a lot more concussions that keep a guy out for long term. Don't really come from fights. Like, hey, listen, Jonathan Lecaramaki got a concussion last year from dropping the gloves. Like,
okay, but I'm talking like CTE and long term head injuries, right? Like, I'm talking more. I'm not talking. Yeah, this guy's out for 10 games because he had a concussion, right? I'm talking about, okay, this guy's quality of life is very bad by the time he turned 40, and you look at all the old enforcers who that's happened to, right? And that's kind of where we have this warning of, okay, we need to be smart about this. We're still learning about the human brain and head injuries and all of that. We need to be very cautious with all of this. And of course, you and I both kind of stand with well, actually, I don't know if we totally agree on it, but there's a line, I think, for both of us where we say, okay, that was a legal hit in the NHL, but it wasn't a clean hit. And maybe one day it should be an illegal hit in the NHL. Another thing that someone brought up, other than the folks in the chat saying Faber loves concussions.
Hey, I've had 7 of them.
The C in Chris stands for CTE.
Get out of the chat. You're losing your mind over there.
It's funny.
That's why you got to mute that guy in there.
Anyways, our coworker at Canucks Army, Cody Severson. Anyways, we're learning more and more about head injuries, and I think that's what it kind of comes down to is you don't want to see that, right? And yeah, like I say I have mixed feelings, but I also say, yeah, I'd love to see a guy who's only there to fight.
Because I have to push back because here's the thing. Go back and watch. So about a month and a half ago or so, I went and watched a Rock'em Sock'ems thing with the Pucks on Net with Ryan Schaap. I went and watched Don Cherry's whatever hits, Rock'em Sock'em thing. And the hits that they were throwing back then that are resulting in head injuries that are lasting people for a long time are a very different brand of hitting than what we're seeing right now.
Yes.
So I do think that the game is changing away from it, that I don't know if fighting's the main cause of concern for concussions in my eyes. It's just, I think a lot more coming from just the sport and how fast the sport is.
That's fair.
And the fact that they're changing the way that hitting is. Look at hitting 20 years ago. It's, even more than that, it's worse after that. But I mean, just even like 10 to 20 years ago, it's changed so much where there's such less amount of hits to the head that I don't know. It's a tough situation because obviously you don't want anybody to have a head injury.
Except for you, apparently. You love head injuries.
No, I've just had so many of them. When you get used to them, after a while. But you just go on with your daily life, I guess. But I don't know. It's such a difficult thing to back because it doesn't make moral sense in my eyes of yes, men, punch. I'm not that type. I'm not obsessed with fighting. I just think that there is a spot in the game for it, specifically with two willing combatants, right? And if they're willing to, or if you throw a hit that is bad, it's dirty. When I think about baseball, it's a little bit different, but you are going to see benches get cleared. But in my eyes, when I played baseball, if somebody slid into our second baseman with his cleats up, that changes the game. That changes how you respect the other team because you come out and I'm sure it's the same in hockey. You take the ice, you respect the other players. But when they do something dirty, break the rules, whatever it may be, you lose the respect for them. And if there's an option there for you to, treat the team the way that I think they should be treated, you can take liberties with it. And I think that's something that we saw a lot with when I played baseball anyways. Like we were getting warnings from the league a lot for fighting too much. And it was because we respected every team, and until they did something dirty, then we would take things into our own hands and try and even out the game a little bit. So I don't know. I looked at it a little bit different. Maybe it's a little bit, barbaric the way that I view fighting, but I do think there's a spot in the game for it.
That's why I have mixed feelings, because I think what this really comes down to, Chris, is the people
I'll probably look like an idiot 10 years from now, right? Like
sure,
that's
maybe.
what probably, but that's just how I feel in today's date, July 19th, 2023.
That's what we can say about every show we do.
Well,
5 years ago, we're talking about, the Canucks are an up-and-coming young team. They're going to be great in
Goldobin's
2 years.
going to hit, man.
Goldobin's going to hit. He just needed more time.
Got all these Oli Levy rookie cards. Like, he's going to hit.
Let's talk about the root problem of this, Chris, because the people that say, no, fighting doesn't belong in the game at all, will quickly be countered by somebody saying, well, the game needs to police itself. Like, the players need to police themselves.
And let's be clear here. 15% of our voters are just saying purely no. No mixed feelings. No yes. No I'm angry. Straight up no. 15%. Yep.
And the counter argument that a lot of times happens is the first one I hear the most, I'd say, is, well, who's going to police the game? That's what you have officials for. And that's what you have a rule book for. But when you have a sport where the whistles are put away, and this is something that everybody knows about, and game management exists, and the playoffs, the whistles, like I said, get put away, and your rules change on a night-to-night basis, and there's really no sense of, uniformity in the sport. Like, this doesn't happen in other sports, right? Like, it doesn't happen much in football. Football, they have the roughing the passer rule, and, that obviously got heavily enforced, especially if you're Tom Brady.
Yeah.
But
just watch the first episode of that QB1 show on Netflix.
I should watch that.
Pretty good start.
But anyways, that's kind of what the difference is. And I think with the NHL, who's happy to have you bet on their games and is very, very glad you're betting on their games, there needs to be something done about officiating, and there needs to be something done about the rules as a whole, because there's too many gray areas. Like, there's too many instances where you can look at a replay and say, whoa, that totally changed the complexion of the game because the official got it wrong. Right? Like, that's not good. That's not good for your sport. And, it's just like fighting is kind of a result of that, if that makes sense. To a higher degree back in the day, to a lesser degree now, obviously, but okay, you threw a dirty hit, you have to answer for it. It didn't get called. Even if it gets called, sometimes you have to answer for it, which I think is silly. But
yeah, some of
regardless,
the hits for sure. I feel like I'm really fighting for fighting here. But look at other sports and how when things start to kind of, when the pot starts boiling over, what is it? What happens? In baseball, the bench is clear. In football, all the players are grabbing each other, whatever it is, when it rarely happens in the NFL. But like, other sports, there isn't like an opportunity for you to say, okay, well, you're pissing us off. We're pissing you off. We have a tough guy. You have a tough guy. Let's go like handle some of this and let them kind of take on the whole team aspect of, like, I don't know. Maybe it's from watching so many AHL games, but I can really see a fight be used from a team to help boost them quite a bit. Like, quite a bit. When Alex Canuck-Liepert fought that 6'8" guy, you think the Abbotsford Canucks were buzzing for the next 10 minutes after
exactly.
that?
You're
Absolutely.
Right. You're right.
And when Danila Klimovich gets hit in the head, and at the same time was Canuck-Liepert again sticking up for his guy after your 19-year-old prospect gets hit in the head by a guy who's been in the AHL for 14 years. I'm sorry. I'm not just going to let the ref give him a 2-minute elbow mire.
I hear you.
Like, that's not good enough for me. You need to try and get that part, the dirty part, out of the game. And fighting, I think, helps it.
Exactly.
I think it helps that. I think fighting helps keep the game cleaner.
I think everybody agrees a 2-minute minor, even 5 minutes in a game or whatever it is. I think everybody agrees that that's not enough of a deterrent for guys to stop doing hits like that, because they keep doing them, right? Like, we still see those hits all the time, even with these rules in the game. So there needs to be either more of a deterrent, whether that comes from fighting, whether it comes from rule change, whatever, or heftier suspensions, loss of income, whatever it is. again, you got unions involved, so we don't know if that's going to work, but you know what I mean? Like, everybody kind of agrees that there's not enough of a deterrent for a guy not to throw a dirty hit. And I think that's what all this conversation comes back to. Like, all these conversations about fighting, there's good points by everybody. Like, everybody has good points. Nobody wants to see head injuries,
Sure.
But you know what? Like, you've kind of made the point. First of all, you don't need to get hit in the head to get a head injury.
Chronic Hand says fighting is a consequence. I think you can look at that a couple different ways of
yeah,
fighting can be a consequence for you if the NHL, if you do something that is crossing the line, right? I think fighting takes away the chance to cross the line.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in the Q this year. The QMJHL and junior hockey in Canada, major juniors really done is it you fight, you get suspended for a game after that too? I think that's the rule across the CHL. I could be wrong. I stand to be corrected here, but the Q is completely taking fighting out next year. I know our friends at Hockey Fights, they're not liking that at all either. So
also, that's the biggest story, I think. Our friends at Hockey Fights gave Alex Canuck-Liepert the Fight of the Year award, number 1 out of any league.
That fight came 30 seconds after Danila Klimovich got hit in the head by an elbow.
Yeah, by someone much bigger. So
is that, to me, that's where fighting makes sense.
Yep.
10 years from now, I'm going to look like I'm going to get canceled for this, I guess. But that's the way she goes. You want to get to the anything else you want to say? Do the Canucks have any enforcer? Who's the biggest? Because I thought what this conversation was going to be more about instead of just fighting. I think you can have enforcers on the team that aren't necessarily just there to fight and just there to drop the gloves, play fourth line. To me, JT Miller is a enforcer. He's an enforcer on the ice of emotion. He does do that extremely well. I think you even look at certain players like Kyle Burrows, though, yeah, he wasn't just out there to be I think there's a difference between a goon and an enforcer, right? And I think you can be an enforcer but still impact the game with our hockey skills. Just the fact that you have it in your back pocket, almost it's like when you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh, you pull out the goon card. Boom. Sometimes you got to do it every once in a while, but you can be an enforcer with multiple cards in your pocket, I think. So,
I believe JT Miller had the 3rd most fights behind Burrows and Shen. So, yeah, he's your top fighter now.
Check out.
But how much do you want him fighting if you're the Canucks?
Dakota Joshua, Jeremy brings up as well. Sonny as well. Yeah, I was just about to get to Joshua.
Everybody points out Joshua. How many fights does Joshua have? And everybody was disappointed that he didn't have more. Joshua was not a fighter. Everybody thought he was an enforcer when he came here. Joshua is not a fighter.
No, he's a skill guy.
He's a skill guy. He's not a fighter. Everybody thinks he's going to fight.
He can fight.
He can, but he's not going to. Everybody's looking at it as, he can help fill the gap from Burrows and Shen.
Fought 5 times last year.
That's the most he's had in his career.
Yeah.
So is he going to top that?
I'm not sure.
Didn't Burrows have 8 last year?
Something close to that. Yeah, Burrows was big time up there.
Anyways, hopefully, that's the kind of back to what I started this conversation with. I don't think anybody out there would say, yeah, I'd rather they go get Ryan Reeves than target guys who put fear into people like JT Miller does, like maybe Carson Soucy does. Bigger guys like the Vegas blue line, like what we saw, big mobile guys who can throw their weight around and do make it so guys don't want to go into the middle of the ice, right? You protect that house. That's what you want. That's what you want more than anything is you want guys who can play the game. You don't, I'm not saying go get guys who are 5'9", although that's pretty sweet height if I say myself. You don't want a bunch of guys who are just getting thrown around out there and hit out there. You want guys that are able to hold their own physically, but not necessarily with the gloves off. I think every Canucks fan would much rather see a team that hits a ton, but is known as one of these teams like Vegas that is super difficult to play against, but they finish in the bottom quarter of the league like Vegas did for fights, but they win the cup. No Canucks fans going to say, well, I wish we had an enforcer. I wish we kept Kyle Burrows. I wish we kept Luke Shen. Nobody's going to be saying that.
No,
I think at the end of the day, you just pointed out, maybe to some extent there is a place for fighting in hockey, to some extent.
Yep.
But I don't think any fan is looking at their team and saying, yeah, I really wish we had, there's no Vegas fan saying, I really wish we had more fighters.
Should have been tougher.
Who should have been tougher.
No.
They were very difficult to play against. They were very tough to play against. Yeah. It didn't come from dropping the gloves. That's my point.
No, and I think that's the thing. Goon is out. Enforcer's still around.
Yeah.
I think a little bit in the NHL. Okay, we got 3 minutes to do the prospect rankings. Let's get the graphic up here. Quads, ask me as many questions as you can in 3 minutes about the top 5.
Okay, why did you put Danila Klimovich second?
he was 6th.
Excuse me, Elias Pettersson. I had Pettersson on the mind here.
Elias Pettersson came in at number 2 because I think that there's more potential in Willander's game. Though Pettersson has proved a lot in his draft plus 1 year, I think Willander is going to prove just as much, if not more, in his NCAA jump. And I also like the development path. Higher potential there with Willander, but Pettersson, he's proved a lot in his draft plus 1, so that's helped him stay in the top 2 for our prospects.
So Archer Seelove's at 5. Can you please explain yourself?
Yeah, I mean, he could have gone higher if I put a lot more weight into the World Championships. He could have been higher up this list. I just look at the whole season, and yes, I agree that the World Championships was very impressive. I didn't put enough stock into it to really rise him up. And I think you could make a real argument about him being a better prospect than Jonathan Karamaki at what they've done so far in their time. But again, Seelovs is 22, up and coming, had a really good tournament. He's had a couple of really good tournaments for Latvia in the past couple of years here at the World Championships. So I just didn't put as much stock as maybe some might into the World Championships. That's why he stayed at number 5.
Okay, that's all the questions I got.
Okay.
Well, why is Ratu? Someone asked in the chat. Why is Ratu higher than Lekaramaki and Seelovs?
You know what's crazy? Okay, you've probably heard Ratu's name since 2017.
Yes,
he was 15 years old at the time. He was playing in Liga. He was projected to be the number 1 overall pick when he was like 16 years old. He was the first player on Elite Prospects of the draft list to watch for 2021. Was he in the draft? He's only 20 years old. He's just coming off of his first full season in North America, where it wasn't bad, right? Like, we're looking at the stats right here, 27 points in 52 games. First year adjusting to North American game, got into some NHL games. Was it 15 NHL games he's played as well? He's only 20. He just turned 20. So I think that because his name has been around hockey circles, you feel like he's like 22. He's still really young. And I think there's a lot of NHL potential there. I think he's going to be an NHLer one day. I'm not so worried about his skating as some people might be. I think that agility and acceleration are the parts of his game, but the top speed, I don't think there's that much of a worry about his top speed. It's going to be about combining processing with agility. And if he can, I think that's something that slows him down a little bit at times, is he can't think the play as quick as he would hope. So I wonder if that's going to come with a little bit more time in North America. But after what he did in his final year in Liga, being a point per game pretty much, then coming over here, he's only 20 years old. So that's why I got him at number 3. And I think the fact that he's a center helps him a little bit over Lekaramaki as well.
Okay. I got Betway bet of the day.
Yeah, guess who's back? Betway.
My bet, I got Jose Barrios over 5.5 strikeouts tonight against the San Diego Padres at plus 105. Really? I thought about taking the under here, but in his last start, Barrios logged 4 strikeouts, but before that, it was 6, 8, 8, 4, and 5. So I'm saying he goes over 5.5. He hits his, and you know what?
Padres are coming off a night where I think they hit 4 home runs last night. All their big dogs hit home runs, so they're going to be swinging. They're going to be swinging again tonight. I like the over on that. What's
Machado,
the payout there?
The one thing I want to point out, $10 bet gets you $20.50.
Okay.
Over at Betway.
Betway.
But the one thing I want to point out, Manny Machado's got a .412 average against Jose Barrios in his career over a large sample size. Barrios has never faced Fernando Tatis Jr., and Juan Soto is 1 for 4 against Barrios. So bet responsibly. I'm feeling the over tonight.
18
over
plus
5.5
or 19 plus.
19 plus to play. If you choose to play, please play responsibly. Another one, Luis Castillo. I think he's going to dice up the Twins tonight.
I'll be down in Seattle from this weekend. I'm going to the Saturday game.
Yeah, I got offered tickets to that game.
Really?
I actually turned them down because I had so much fun when I went to the Mariners game against the Marlins on a Monday night. And I once went to the Jays game when they were down there. I had an awful time. It was just Jays fans screaming and being insufferable as possible, and Mariners fans trying to give it right back to them. It was just not a good vibe at all. It's just a different vibe when everybody's kind of rooting for the home team.
It's tough because I do like both teams. So I'm not going to be getting in any arguments with everyone. I like both teams. So
I saw a couple fights and I was 16. So I was like, you know what? This isn't for me. I'm not going to that. So I have no interest, especially with Taylor Swift in town, all the border stuff. I don't have a nexus. So I'm not,
how much would you pay to go to a Taylor Swift concert? Like if it was down here,
we've
Rogers
had this
Arena.
Conversation on Patreon. Yeah. I would pay 150 max. Actually, I would pay 100 to go to Taylor Swift. I'd pay $100 tops. That's for any concert. I don't pay more than that to go to concerts. I don't. I'm not a big concert guy, Chris.
I don't
care.
I don't know if I would pay to go to a Taylor Swift concert.
That's a really good take. I think I would say the exact same thing.
Because of the crowd around me, the Swifties, I would be in such a different emotional state than them that we wouldn't even be at the same show. These Swifties, they love Taylor Swift too much. They love that woman. And I just wouldn't, Adam says in the chat, $0.
Yeah.
Even then, like if you paid me by the hour, I'd go. And I like some Taylor Swift songs, but to me, the concerts are so different that it pushes me away from even wanting to go. And I like Taylor Swift songs. I like a lot of Taylor Swift songs. Love Story's a good one. Enchanted's another good one. There's that's a good shot of Bert.
So
wait, is the camera inside the cage now and he's outside?
No, so listen, so I'm moving him out of his crate because I want him to learn. The reason he's been in a crate so long is I want him to learn to also sleep outside of the crate. He doesn't have that concept. He never has had that concept.
So he just stares at the camera.
He's always awake. He's always trying to keep himself awake if he's not inside his crate sleeping. So no one's home right now. Blinds are down. He's just relaxing by himself, and he has slept for most of the morning, which is great. People in the chat were requesting a Bert cam, but yes, I'm moving him out of the crate.
Jesse says Big B.
Yeah, that's right.
Bert is getting big.
He is getting big. He's a big runner. He's impressing people with how fast he is.
Wow.
My boy can run a 40-yard dash in no time.
All right, we got to get out of here, but
oh yeah, that's right. Okay.
I'm off this weekend for down to Seattle. I'm excited for that. Come back. I'll go down Saturday morning, 3 a.m. I'm leaving. And then we'll get back on Sunday. But the week after that is my bachelor party. So we are going to have to do an episode on like Tuesday, Wednesday type of thing next week. So just so everybody knows, that's what the plan is. Next week, we might bring a guest in. And then the week after that, we're going to get Pete on the show and talk about the World Junior Summer Showcase. So a couple things lined up here for the next week. But next week's show, going to be earlier in the week because I'm on my bachelor party for 5 days.
Right on.
And it's my first vacation of the year.
There you go.
I haven't used a vacation. I only got a few weeks left here. A handful of weeks. Yeah. All right, let's get out of here.
All right, we'll close it out there. For my co-host, Chris Faber, and our technical producer, Aaron Bordato, my name is Dave Gugelli. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Canucks Conversation.
See you, everybody.
Thanks for listening to Canucks Conversation. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
How about keep it to a thank you, Jim?